Well, hello, my friends and fans everywhere. Once again, it's Jason, and it's Jason Cosmic RSSP Authority. That's right. It's my new YouTube channel. I did my first ever edited video. We did it a couple weeks ago, actually 4 weeks ago. I'm going to try to put out videos once a week, hopefully. I had a friend help me do that edited video, talking more or less on the UFO technology, okay? But today, my friends, we are going to get into the missing trillions of the U.S. economy, talking about the extraordinary financial situation, okay? And I'm going to give honorable mention to Catherine Austin Fitz, because a lot of this video is going to be dedicated to her work, her research with her financial expertise, and her documented evidence and on the missing trillions. Okay? So let's get into it, shall we? Are you ready to take a cosmic transcendental ride with me today? Transcendental cosmic ride? Did I just say that? No, but really, are you ready for my deep research, approximation, evaluation, investigation, analysis, and a deep hardcore breakdown into the RSSP? Which stands for the Real Secret Space Program, by the way. And yes, this is one of my favorite photos. I got it developed as large as you can get it at the camera store, and a nice frame for it. We'll talk about the significance of that photo, maybe at the end of this video, my friends. So let's get into it, shall we? That's right. And we're going to bring up a lot of numbers to do with the missing trillions today. Now, I also discussed about the missing trillions, getting into the financial situation, again, of the U.S. economy in a large way. I did it with Joe from the Carolinas. We had an amazing live stream experience together, him and I, at a live podcast with, of course, his subscribers on the live chat page. That was it's quite a while ago now. That was, 4 or 5 months ago. But we got a great response. I think we're at about 1,200 views, something like that. And I'll always be privileged and honored that Joe invited me on. He wanted me to talk about the missing trillions and, of course, the secret space program. So let's get into it. Where do we start here, my friends? I mean, let's start from the 1947. And I talked about this with Joe on the live stream, my friends. Well, no, before we go back going to 1947, let's say this on my introduction, okay? That really, we have a significant part of the balance sheet that is both globally and domestically invisible. We have a significant off the main path, black budget, as I like to call the black budget space enterprise. And maybe I'll explain these two photos at the end of my video or on another video as well. Very significant, these symbols here. So we got a significant off the main path, black budget space enterprise, excuse me. And between the covert economic crime cash flows, this hidden secret system of finance, the black budget in other words, you're looking at a classified secret endowment of trillions and trillions of dollars that is literally financing, as I described, these covert military civilizations, an off-world culture you could call it, or post-petroleum civilizations that are literally going off-world, my friends. They're all over our solar system. And there's massive, massive covert production on the moon and Mars. Off-planet investment. We'll get into it later on in this video, my friends. So, in other words, we're watching an exorbitant amount of resources, an enormous amount of money out of U.S. taxpayers' pockets. And they use drug money, securities fraud, every which way they can to keep their foot on the gas pedal. But it's literally disappearing down a hole, or like behind a non-transparent one-way mirror, my friends. Enormous amount of government and private money as well. So, and what's extraordinary is not only how much money that's disappearing. By the way, it's a beautiful day in Canada, by the way. Just got to say that. But seriously, so my friends, what's extraordinary is not only the money that is disappearing, the amount, but that the dysfunction it causes in an economy, right? Because we've got a totally overt economy, overt financial system where people are just pretending this isn't happening, And the reality is, my friends, as the lie has continued, it's become almost as expensive as the money that's disappearing. Because, you know, Catherine tells you, when you're trying to run a government, or if you're trying to run a budget, when you're trying to run a household, or your personal savings and investments, and everything around you is surrounded what she calls material emissions. And if you don't have a basic mathematical, you know, financial understanding, financial reality and economic reality, you're in a whole world of hurt. Because, you know, she's understanding, and I'm understanding, my friends, that more and more of the economy, the U.S. economy, and that, you know, would mean the same for China and Russia. They're going to have their own black budgets as well. But we know the U.S. have a significant, off the main path, as I say, black budget. And so more and more of this economy, my friends, is being driven by what? The UFO phenomenon. The RSSP, the real secret space program, my friends. Absolutely it is. The trillions of dollars of hardware zipping around in our skies and in space. No question about it, my friends. And we're going to get into it some more, okay? So, and this all started really in modern times. It started in 1947, but you can go back. Actually, I'll just briefly skip before 1947, my friends. Don't forget, there was so much Nazi wealth that was shifted out of Germany. I'll give you an example. Juan and Anita Perón, to the best estimates of the U.S. Treasury, they estimated Juan and Anita Perón. Juan Perón was this financial expert in Germany, one of the hierarchies out there under Hitler. He was estimated, him and his wife, to be worth $800 million in 1945 money. Can you believe it? So that's like trillions of dollars. I mean, it's unreal. So Juan Perón set up an organized strategic flight capital organization, flight program, to move all that German wealth, Nazi loot, out of Germany to other countries, right, through the banking systems like the Bank of International Settlements, the Bank of Switzerland. You know, they set up Nazi liaison officers all over the place, and front companies all over the world. So don't forget about that wealth there. So let's go to 1947, my friends, focusing on America. And again, America got a lot of that Nazi loot because, of course, we know the Americans brought over hundreds of Nazi paperclip scientists and set up the national security state. But really, my friends, between 1947, with the 47 and 49 Act, plus those provisions and the Financial Stabilization Fund, when you had the CIA also moving in with their funding, you really start to build the critical train tracks of government money going to private corporations. And when Bush comes into office, he gets in control of the enforcement lines, George W. And you add to that through executive order, all that money is able to flow to private corporations, my friends, and all this private technology development, okay? And really, my friends, so in the 1980s, I always describe, and Catherine says it too in so many words, that I say the 1980s and 1990s, my friends, the financial fraud was on an industrial scale, okay? It just went off the charts. And Catherine, you know, she sort of just tells you that she believes that financial fraud and incompetence was just a cover story. That in actual fact, you had a financial coup d'etat, okay? And she's been asking the question for years, you know, why did we rebalance the global economy in such an aggressive way and that was going to cause enormous fast change and opportunity and heartache around the world? Why did we do it? Did we do it because the technology from the space orbital platforms allowed us to do it? Or did we do it for another reason? And after years of studying this, you know, the space-based economy and everything, she's come to the realization that, you know, I think it's pretty obvious. On the overt side now, we're seeing this push for the whole world to go into space. In other words, she says to you, the so-called elitists or what have you, they feel it's very important that we have a multi-planetary civilization and do it as quickly as possible. And now the question is why, right? I think, you know, obviously this push to have a multi-planetary civilization, Catherine knows too that we already have I would describe a covert military civilizations. They've been going to the moon and Mars for decades. No question about it, my friends. And all that financial coup d'etat was to to enhance our already military civilizations that are up there in secret, my friends. Okay? Going to and fro from the moon and Mars back to Earth. And they're using anti-gravity to do it, my friends. Amazing exotic technology. And I talked about it in my video before. And before I forget, I keep forgetting to ask you guys, or to remind you at the beginning of my videos, if you appreciate my zealous hardcore approach, whether it be into the missing trillions, the UFO technology, because I do believe my wheelhouse, my friends, this topic, I am an authority. Jason Cosmic, RSSP authority. If you appreciate my zealous hardcore approach in this all-important subject, because I do believe it is the most important subject of our times, my friends. It's a multifaceted, complex subject with a lot of moving parts, but if you appreciate it and like my hardcore research and what I'm trying to bring of value to humanity, my friends, to try to bring that transparency and be an advocate for the truth. If you appreciate it and you want me to continue to do this with you guys and gals, then please feel free to subscribe. Leave me a comment if you've got a thought. Give me a thumbs up, okay? I want to build this channel. So as I was saying, my friends, the 80s and 90s, you know, you had the Reagan administration, even people from, you know, the contractors from the black world said that the 8 years of the Reagan years were very good to us, okay? And Catherine's estimated, let's get into the numbers, some numbers here, my friends, because it's so critical, right? You've got Catherine and got help from Professor Skidmore at the University of Michigan. Him and his bright students, about 15 or 20 accountants, they went through the documented, all the documents, trying to find out how many missing trillions are we really talking about? How much money are we really talking about that's just sort of disappeared from the federal budget? And they got documented a hard number, my friends, $21 trillion missing since 1998. Now that's like a magic number, my friends, because that's the equivalent of the U.S. debt. The U.S. debt is what, 20 trillion? So theoretically, you could pay off the debt, and that 21 trillion, my friends, that's for sure a low number. That's not even all of it, because you're not even including other aspects within the federal government that they haven't even got to. But 21 trillion, I mean, it's just astronomical amount of money, right? So that was from 1998. Now, if you go back to 1990, as Catherine tells you, you got another 20 trillion that we bailed out to the banks. You know, you got your quantitative easing pump and dump of the stock markets. Now she's estimated you've got $50 trillion or more in assets shifted out of North America. And Joe and I talked about this on the live stream as well. You guys can scroll down, find out on his live stream. It'll say live transmission. And underneath the title was Secret Space Program Culture Controversial Interview, okay? And I'm going to tell you that 50 trillion, you know, Joe asked me, where is the $50 trillion going, right? And I answered a lot of it's for the space-based economy and our underground, under-ocean bases that we got worldwide, my friends. And most of it's in space. The weaponization of space, the space-based technologies, which are just amazing, my friends. And again, the covert production going on the moon and Mars, which is massive, my friends, all right? And yes, the trillions of dollars of hardware flying around all over space, my friends, okay? So, but, you know, I sort of posed it this way, my friends. You know, how much is it for off-world investment, as I say, the covert production of the moon and Mars, versus how much is that 50 trillion designed to assert a global governance of the whole planet, because some of these corporate elitists definitely want to do that, whether it be, you know, your petro-Nazi and American British cartels. And a lot of these people, my friends, or some of these groups, you know, Billy Carson tells you too, they do not want to let go of their fundamental income and the enslavement of the human race, my friends, okay? So again, how much is it for off-planet investment versus how much is designed to assert a global governance of the whole Earth? And the G7, G20 is definitely a push towards that. They've encountered more salt taffy than they expected. I think they're stuck in the mud globally on that, thank God. But and then versus how much is designed to retrench manufacturing back to America, because some of these corporate elitists, I think the silver lining in this, my friends, is some of these petro-Nazi American British cartels, they want to make America great again, North America. At least I hope so. And So it'll be interesting. We're seeing it all play out, my friends, and it's going to be very interesting, what really transpires in the end here, okay? But again, we can make a huge difference, my friends. I'm convinced we can make a profound, transformative paradigm shift in awareness. We need a whole new awareness campaign over the U.S. intel agencies as well, my friends. We'll talk more about that hopefully on other videos. But I know, my friends, with more intelligent discussion on the missing trillions, where the money's going, trying to get at the truth of this, we could break down the walls of this schizophrenic wall of elite secrecy, my friends. It's just gone out of control. And as I always say, I think if you talk one-on-one with these military personnel and folks at the CIA, the other intel agencies, they'll admit there's way too much secrecy, right? I'm sure they would, my friends, because, even the current leadership in government, even Catherine tells you, I mean, they've totally lost the ability to see the difference between reality and official reality. They can't deal with it, my friends. I mean, this is the crazy amount of discourse that we have in the public media, my friends, on this subject, and I mean, you even got Donald Trump, there's good qualities about him, I think. A lot of people don't like Donald Trump, but I think he does want to make America great again in his heart of hearts. But he talks to you like you're a kindergarten school child. But I'm getting off topic here, my friends. The trillions of dollars. So you got 50 trillion shipped out of North America. Again, the $50 trillion question is, where is it going? I've touched on that. A lot of that 50 trillion, my friends, no question, is to build the trillions of dollars of hardware. Again, the UFOs flying around in our skies. And I got into the UFO technology. You guys can check it out on my other video. And it's to build the infrastructure, therefore, okay? And I've said this before, my friends, I'll say it again, that you'll hear me in this video talk about the private corporations a lot. I'll probably mention more than once, because you got to keep in mind, my friends, the private corporations are usually, it starts with the dark projects, and they use private corporations that are often affiliated and contracted within the military. That way they can hide everything, my friends. They can hide the resources, the people, I would argue, the money. And so let's go back, my friends. Again, when Reagan got in control, remember in the 80s, I said when he got in control of the enforcement line, you add to that through executive order, you've got an unended open flow of cash flow going to private corporations and all the secret technology development. You have the investors, and they're in control of the most powerful, military technology in the world. And whoever controls, the most powerful technology in the world controls the planet, right? And that's what's been going on, my friends. This is a huge change in the governance system where, even Catherine tells you, she believes the world has always sort of been governed by a private governance. And you need the governments the governments were sort of a front. It's really been controlled by private governments. You needed governments to finance, own, and control the military technology, right? But what's changed now, my friends, and again, starting with 1947, really, and particularly the 1980s, is where now, my friends, you have even though the government's still financing it, they no longer own and control the military technology. It's all buried within contractors, within these private corporations, my friends. That's where the vital information is. That's where we need to focus. The people like, especially Lockheed Martin, and we're going to get into that company and those contractors more in another video, my friends. I'm not going to let them off the hook. But I'm also going to give them credit where credit's due. And, you got your Boeing and Northrop Grumman, etc. So there you go. And my friends, now I mentioned the German wealth, the loot there, wanting to need to Perron and shifting all that German wealth out. Let's stick on the U.S. economy, my friends, because remember Rumsfeld, he came out and announced, what was it, $2.3 trillion or 2.7, I think it was, missing the day before 9/11. A lot of people think that was a low number, actually. I think it was 2.3 trillion, if I'm not mistaken, somewhere around there. And then, of course, 9/11, they wipe out all those accounting offices. And George Bush, can you believe it? The guy, he announces a recommendation for a $48 billion increase in DOD. I mean, can you believe that? So, I mean, just unreal. And Catherine tells you, let's talk about some of her stories when she worked in the Bush administration. This is why, my friends, she is so important, because she has the experience, right? She worked under HUD. She was the assistant secretary, I believe, secretary for the HUD, Housing Urban Development. So she was seeing the missing trillions, my friends. And you know, for years she's been trying to figure out where's all this money disappearing to and how much money are we talking. And so I think it was the following summer after 9/11, she was in a, not a congressional hearing, she was in a town hall meeting, okay? And she was talking to a congressman who was on both, on the Appropriations Subcommittee for the Budget and Defense, okay? And she looks at this person and she says, you know, Congressman, we've got $3.3 trillion missing the last 2 years from DOD. What are you going to do about it? The congressman looks at her and says, nothing. There's nothing I can do about it. I'll tell you a more even sterling statement, my friends. So I think it was the following summer after, I think Como was still in office, Gary Como or whatever his name is. But anyway, I think it was the following summer. She's talking to a senator. A chairman for a senator who's on the Appropriations Subcommittee for 21 agencies, including HUD. Now, keep in mind, my friends, a chairman who's in charge of the Appropriations Subcommittee is arguably higher than OMB, sort of the highest in the scheming pecking orders of government money in Washington, okay? And this person looks at Catherine and says, do you know what's going on at HUD? And Catherine says, no, what's going on? And this person looks at Catherine right in the eye and says, do you know that HUD is being run as a criminal enterprise? And Catherine says, no, I didn't. And this person says, Catherine says to you that, you know, what's interesting is that HUD is run on a matrix structure. So you can't run HUD as a criminal enterprise unless the criminal justice, the Treasury, the Fed member banks run it as a criminal enterprise. And Catherine, you know, said, well, I don't disagree with you. That following, or a few months later or something, HUD, or maybe it was I think it was a few months later, HUD voted a huge increase in their appropriation. I mean, just unreal, my friends, right? And so you got to keep in mind, you know, people think of, you know, I've had friends too thinking that congressmen and senators are all powerful. Most people think that. But my friends, when you're talking about covert military civilizations, again, overall, there's great people in the military, a lot of them. But my friends, some of these covert military civilizations, some of these groups in charge of the UFO file, you're talking about people, my friends, and this includes elements of the CIA, not all the CIA, but elements of it, my friends. You're talking about people that, whether it be offering you personnel benefits, whether you're talking mind control technology, whether you're talking electronic harassment. That happened in Cuba and China, by the way, my friends, where even from a satellite, from space, some of these space orbital platforms, they can actually send directed energy weapons through the walls and make you sick. And all the politicians there that were trying to provide peaceful relations between the U.S. and Cuba, the politicians apparently all got sick. Even mainstream media had to cover it. They just would say it was a health issue. And they all came back to the United States. So there is an LA investigator that tells you, my friends, he tries to help people that are targeted, for example, with electronic harassment. And he says it goes back to the military-industrial complex because they always want conflict, right? So, you know, some rogue group is doing that. So I'm talking about there's amazing technology there, my friends. Some of these covert military civilizations, and whether it be threatening you or killing you or your loved ones and threatening them, my friends, whether it be control files, whatever it is, you're talking literally about a civilization that can implement its will, my friends. And even at the highest echelons of society, they've created a secret slavery system, which is part of financing and running the secret hidden financial system. Again, my friends, at the highest echelons of society, they've created a secret slavery system that's part of running and financing the secret financial system. That's what's going on, my friends. And if you don't think slavery is going on off-world as well for all these anomalies and structures all over the backside of the far side of the moon and Mars, my friends, well, you got another thing coming up, because I'm telling you, my friends, it's happening. It sounds wild, but it's happening. They're delivering massive military assets. you can't have 50,000 anomalies, for example, my friends, from Billy Carson and his researchers have discovered on the moon and Mars out of 1 million. That's just from 1 million photos from NASA so far. There's 7-8 million photos to go. Other researchers are making a living on YouTube channels, my friends, showing you the towers, the domes, the satellites. They're mining the moon for helium-3, for mican, for titanium, right? There's all kinds of minerals on the moon, my friends, and there's mining going on. My mom thought I was crazy when I said we're mining the moon, but it's happened. You can see the evidence, my friends. There's video and photographic evidence, okay? So, and there's UFOs flying all over the place on the moon and Mars. So, again, my friends, and there's domes all over the far side of the moon. I mean, there's so many structures, my friends, and you can't do that unless you've got slave labor. And you just look at our beautiful, precious planet here, my friends. Unfortunately, even Catherine talks about it. What is the biggest economic, financial driver in human history is what? Warfare and slavery. So there's no reason to doubt, reason, logic, common sense, my friends. It's happening out in space on the moon and Mars for this covert production, okay? So we got to be aware of it, my friends, and we got to fight the good fight on this, okay? So I mentioned and my friends, so you got by the way, 2015, before I forget, Catherine says you got $6.5 trillion missing in 2015, okay? Between 1998 and fiscal 2002, it was $4.5 trillion missing. You got 11.5 trillion missing from the federal government when Catherine had already estimated in one of her interviews, she said you're at $40 trillion shifted out of North America. Now it's up to 50 trillion. So, I mean, it just goes on and on, my friends. The money is just, I know, it's hard to even contemplate. And can you imagine the interest, my friends? She even tells you, right, when it was at 40 trillion, if you put an endowment, and I said to this, you guys will hear me if you listen to the live stream with Joe, if you put an endowment at 5%, you're going to get 2% return a year. You can finance the global government on a private basis. You could finance the global government on a private basis. I mean, in other words, my friends, when you're talking all these pots of money, you're really saying that, instead of looking after healthcare and building our bridges, right, and looking after nursing homes, you're saying that we're going to build bases on Mars, and you're not even having a policy discussion. Well, I mean, my friends, Catherine agrees, we should have a policy discussion, make this transparent. I mean, this is nuts, right? But this is what's been going on for decades, my friends, okay? So the money, I mean, we're watching the whole planet being financially harvested, my friends. You could say we're watching a leveraged buyout of the planet or a re-engineering of the whole global governance system, right? I mean, it's truly remarkable. And, again, my friends, we need transparency. We need honesty, and we've got to get the truth on this, my friends. And this technology, my friends, we're going to get into it on another video, because it is a total free energy. My friends, Catherine shows you, I guess, the 30-second Super Bowl. She's talked about it. Apparently she put it on her space report that she did a couple years ago, I think it was. And it's a 30-second ad. And I've told friends this, and it's pretty amazing. And it shocked Catherine, too. They're saying in 100 years, but they're saying we got to wait 100 years. Give me a break, my friends. This should have been happening decades ago. But they're saying we'll have space elevators, right? Mars will be colonized. And I've told you already, my friends, they're colonizing Mars as we speak, terraforming these planets. And slave labor to do it, a lot of it, I believe. I'm sure of it, even though it's hard to prove, my friends, but it's reason, logic, common sense. And just look what's happened, as I say, on our planet here, my friends. And the slavery is out of control more than ever on this planet, my friends. And we'll get into slavery on another video perhaps too, my friends. I'll explain more. But so, I forget. Now I'm lost, my friends. What was I saying there? I mentioned about, again, the covert production on the moon and Mars. I can't remember right now, my friends. But again, I wanted to say, my friends, before I forget, that Catherine, I listened to her very closely on this, my friends. I guess one of the students, remember Professor Skidmore at the university that helped Catherine get that hard figure of $21 trillion, and that was reported worldwide, my friends, missing since 1998, right? Well, one of the students was trolling the DoD website, okay? And they found on the Inspector General of DoD, on their website, every number on it was redacted. Every number. Catherine couldn't believe it, my friends. So what happened was the agency, the agency auditor was redacting all the numbers. And the agency, they didn't want to lie. So, Catherine tells you she could just see it. The good government rolled. The agency didn't want to lie because the agency, the workers there, the career employees, they're smart enough to know, my friends, if they lie, someone's going to bite them down the road, right? So the classified guys, they're staying strong, and they decided, well, we'll resolve it. We'll redact all the numbers. I mean, Catherine had never seen anything like that, and this is on the DoD's website. I mean, you talk about a diva move, man. Unbelievable, unbelievable. And I was hoping, my friends, but I was pretty cynical on it, just knowing what's been going on with some of these covert military civilizations, unfortunately, in the intel agencies that within the U.S. I was afraid, my friends. I was hopeful, but at the same time, I was, I didn't think there'd be a lot of transparency, even though they finally said, what was it, last year or the year before, they were doing a DoD audit, right? But there's still a lot that they weren't very honest about this whole audit business. And there you go, on the DoD website, my friends, an example. They've redacted all the numbers. I mean, it just goes on and on here, folks. But they're nervous, my friends. I'm telling you, a lot of these agencies are very nervous now because they know finally more people are on to the missing trillions. And how much money are we really talking about? That's disappeared. The 50 trillion estimated, shifted out, the 21 trillion hard number. And it's pretty easy to get to 50 trillion to know that it's at least 50 trillion, my friends, because like I said, you got the 21 trillion missing since 1998. It's a hard documented number. You add another 20 trillion with the bailouts from the to the banks, and you're at over 50 trillion. So, and again, my friends, the U.S. is not the only country guilty of this. They're not the only ones that have a black budget. But my friends, the empire of the United States, it is, this black budget is just out of control, right? And we've got to rein them in, my friends, because it's caused so much heartache. These covert military civilizations, some of the intel agencies, they know what they've done. They know some of these groups, they've committed treason. They know the heartache and depression they've caused to millions of people around the world and people starving to death. I'll give you an example, my friends. Lockheed Martin, and again, I respect so many of the contractors and engineers and scientists at Lockheed Martin and other contractors, Boeing and at Northrop Grumman, because, my friends, they made major breakthroughs, significant breakthroughs after 1947. I always say, when they worked with those Nazi scientists who they brought over, remember, after the World War II, brought them over to the United States, gave them great lifestyles, but they created eventually radical, gnarly UFO technology. That being, they've harnessed this legendary cosmic powerful energy, that being the anti-gravity, my friends, and electromagnetic propulsion. They are literally manipulating electromagnetism and gravity and created amazing aircraft, call them UFOs, the triangles. Here's the triangle symbol on these patches, my friends, at NASA and the Space Force. These are where a lot of your trillions of dollars are going out of U.S. pockets and all over North America. It affects us Canadians as well, my friends. But they secretly encrypt. I talked about this on my last video, my friends, but I didn't have my YouTube shirt on, this one. They secretly, what the military does often, my friends, and we're going to go through the stealth patches on a video, my friends, one day. I learned this from the great Michael Schramm, that they often will encrypt secret symbols in the patches. And it's significant, my friends, to study patches, because a patch is a real program. They don't make patches for things that don't exist. They may make things that are unacknowledged, but they don't make patches for things that don't exist, okay? And one of the symbols that Michael Schramm didn't touch on, I was pretty amazed, but I found out myself, my friends, is the triangle on the Space Force and at NASA. That is the boomerang-shaped craft and or the TR-3B that we've got flying around in our skies literally for decades, my friends, and seen by hundreds of thousands of witnesses, and would cost a lot of money, trillions of dollars, you can imagine, my friends. Truly amazing technology. And who is the prime contractor for a lot of these vehicles? Well, there's one or two researchers like Michael Schrad who figured it out, that it's most likely Lockheed Martin, my friends, right? Remember the Skunk Works? Lockheed, they joined with the Martin Company, the Martin Corporation, the Martin Marietta Corporation in the 1990s. Of all the contractors Lockheed could choose, they chose the Martin Corporation. So when those two forces join, my friends, that's significant because the Martin Corporation, I said this in my last video, my friends, they are the ones that were spearheading the anti-gravity research way back in the 1950s. I don't have the book with me right now. It's over there, my friends. But that's significant, my friends. So they're flying around these triangles, okay? They secretly encrypt symbols. And if you can elucidate or decrypt the symbols in the patches, you can know what's going on, my friends. And I found this out. And Russia and China, guess what, my friends? Do you think it's a coincidence? They also have the exact same aircraft triangle on their patches. Take a look. So, my friends, we've got so much money, again, my friends, that is going for off-planet investment largely, and our under-ocean, underground bases. We can't underestimate that as well, my friends. Even Catherine tells you, if you look at the mining stocks the last 50 years, the behavior of the mining stocks, my friends, a lot of it is not for offshore drilling for silver, base metals. A lot of it is actually for underground, under-ocean facilities as well. And that costs, you can imagine how many trillions of dollars that just might cost, my friends, right? And we have got underground bases. We know we have that worldwide. We have under-ocean bases worldwide. They have all the boring machines patented, my friends. We got continuity of government worldwide. And I can understand some secrecy within the government, my friends, and within these covert military civilizations. I can understand having COG, continuity of government, especially when we had the nuclear threat back in the day. In case of a nuclear war, you want the government to continue, etc., my friends. But they know the secrecy is just out of control, my friends, now. Way too much secrecy. And, I said this on one of my other videos too before, I think the last video, my friends. What I learned from Catherine is she tells you, right, that with all this secrecy, it's caused enormous privileges for the certain groups of people, my friends, right? And privileges are the most wasteful thing that you can have for an economy, she tells you, because it can literally destroy so much optimization within an economy that it destroys the wealth of the people with the privileges. So again, this is why we need transparency, my friends. And this is why, the current government leadership, my friends, they are having problems explaining away the cover-up. How do they explain away the cover-up? You see, how do they explain the fact that, they've got to be courageous and tell us the truth. That's what it comes down to, my friends. But, they haven't been so far because they've got to explain all these enormous, exorbitant amount of resources stolen, enormous amounts of money stolen out of U.S. taxpayers' pockets for decades, my friends. And how do you explain away the fact when people know that you've illegally moved the money to operations and transferring the technology over to the private corporations, all these companies, my friends. People are going to want shares in Google, Google stock or whatever it is, right? In all these companies. Once they find out the truth, I'm going to want to know where my shares at, right? So this is why the government and the leadership, my friends, their whole authenticity is going to be looked at. And the credibility of most of the current leadership and government is going to be destroyed. This is why they put out shills in front of public, my friends. Working with the CIA. And we'll get into some of the shills that I believe they put out there to disorient the public, my friends. We'll talk about that on another video. So just keep that in mind, my friends. Again, let's be advocates for the truth. This is the most important subject, I believe, of our times, my friends. Because like I said, it involves so much. It involves the trillions of dollars missing. And it comes down to technology, my friends. It's our divine right, as I keep saying in so many videos, my friends. I used to say it on my other YouTube channel. It is our divine right to have access to this anti-gravity, to this amazing exotic energy that they're utilizing these covert military civilizations, my friends, because it comes from the cosmos. It is the zero-point energy coming from the ether of space that they're utilizing. They've been harnessing this energy as a technological reality. And that's why I give the contractors credit, even at Lockheed Martin, even though I get frustrated with Lockheed Martin. Now, I'll tell you why, my friends, I get frustrated at times with them, because we got to be aware of this. And I learned this from Dark Journalist and with Catherine Austin Fitz, because Catherine learned too, my friends, when she worked at HUD, okay? Anytime she went to get the data from HUD, or whether it was from DOD or whatever it was always blocked by Lockheed Martin. And whenever she wanted to get the contracting paperwork that came out of HUD, it was blocked by Lockheed Martin, as well as many other various agencies within the federal government. So you've got a military contractor right there, my friends, controlling all the data in the government. That's a big problem, okay? And Lockheed Martin, guess where they are now, my friends? Where they've been the last few years? In Antarctica. That's right. I told Joe from the Carolinas this. He was very surprised. Hopefully he's going to be looking in. Hi, Joe. I meant to give you a shout out, pal. Hope you look into Lockheed Martin in Antarctica, what they're up to, Joe. And I hope you invite me on your live stream again. I think it's about time we do a powerful live stream together again, Joe. After all, it's been over 5 months. Don't you agree? I know we can rock it, my friends. I know we can, Joe. Get your friends on the live chat page to participate and get a great response again. And like I said, my friends, I'm not perfect, but I'm trying to do my hardcore research. And I know Joe appreciates it, and I appreciate Joe's amazing research and the way he's able to relate to people and trying to help humanity in his own unique way. And I'm trying to help out, I believe, in my unique way too, my friends. My intentions are pure. I'm not going to sell out. I'm not going to blur the truth. And when I speculate, I try to base it on good reasoning, like any good researcher should. It doesn't mean you're always going to connect the dots together correctly, my friends, but a lot of times you can, okay? And but I try to say a lot of facts on the missing trillions today, my friends. And I'm just trying to think. There are a few other aspects that perhaps I may have forgotten on this video. Well, if I have, I'm sure it'll come to me after I stop this video, and maybe we can get at another video. But I hope you guys enjoyed some of my content today. And again, hopefully you'll subscribe. Maybe leave me a comment, feel free, and give me a thumbs up. More great videos to come, my friends, on the Real Secret Space Program. Jason Cosmic, RSSP Authority, okay? And by the way, I meant to say, see this photo here? This was taken from the Hubble telescope in the infrared. There's several photos of these massive cigar-shaped craft in the rings of Saturn. I chose this one because I think it's a beautiful picture, again, with colors from the infrared. And look what it says, my friends. Infrared photograph of one of the gigantic cylindrical objects taken by Hubble in the rings of Saturn. And here it is, right there, my friends, all the way in the rings of Saturn. And guess who's staffing those vehicles, my friends? Is it ET? Or is it the Navy? Or is it the Air Force? Those are your three choices, right, my friends? Well, you know what a lot of ufologists like to say? They would like to say, if they saw that photograph, they would say it's extraterrestrial, ET, because it helps you sell a lot of books. I won't name any names with ufologists today, maybe another time, because we need to set those guys straight, my friends. If you want the real truth is, my friends, and the military, by the way, a lot of times, as I was saying earlier, my friends, the military try to spin it for ET, and they put shills out there talking about extraterrestrials and we're being visited. It's not the case, my friends. I always say, let our cosmologists and astronomers still search. We're still searching for extraterrestrial life out there, okay? Especially another sentient being. Who knows, hopefully we can discover that one day. Whether or not they're in our galaxy is another question, my friends. I think we're on the cusp of, I say this generation, I think we're on the cusp of being able to finally find out, are we alone, at least in terms of microbial life. But my friends, you do not need an ET explanation to explain the trillions of dollars of hardware flying in our skies, because that is a complete false narrative. It's not the truth, my friends. It's all military UFOs. I've always said that, my friends. I will never vacillate for my conviction that it's all military UFOs. And a lot of these trillions of dollars that I'm titling this video, The Missing Trillions, probably, my friends, it's going towards these massive military UFOs. And this is staffed by U.S. naval officers. That's a fact, my friends. And you know why we can know that? It's reason, logic, and common sense, first of all. The Navy is the one spearheading under the branch of the military. Donald Trump won't tell you this because he's all about the Air Force, the Space Force. You notice he never talks about the Navy space program. We all know the Navy has a space program because more and more researchers are realizing, my friends, and even people off the street, if you look at their patches, again, for the military command patches, it says Naval Space Command. And they've been seen by people worldwide, my friends, seeing cigar-shaped craft and other UFOs coming out of the oceans. But not the ones this big, my friends. They probably come out of the oceans at nighttime. This has been measured at least 1.5 miles in length or 2 miles or more, my friends. Again, all the way in the rings of Saturn, taken by the Hubble. Isn't that amazing? I can't get over this photo, my friends, every time. And so you can know that that is staffed by U.S. naval officers. And the reason also we can know this, my friends, is not only the Navy is in charge of the covert space program and the real secret space program, the RSSP. You see, NASA is just a cover. NASA's a cover for the NRO and the Air Force space programs, as I've said before, my friends. And they're a cover for a more highly classified covert space program. And you know the next guess is what? It's the Navy. Well, we don't have to guess, but that's the next option. It is the Navy, my friends. And Billy Carson, who owns his own space company called First Class Space Agency, he tells you that some of the cigar-shaped craft deep in space, he didn't mention the one in the rings of Saturn, but this is what he means, the ones deep in space, he says, are operated by U.S. naval officers, and he says that's a fact. So you can take that to the bank, my friends, because this guy's talking to private space companies. And I mentioned live stream when I talked with Joe from the Trllions because this guy's significant. He's not a whistleblower, therefore. He's a hardcore space insider. He's also trying to help humanity and talk, everything he can legally. I say legally because he has his own private space company. He has top secret clearance at the Space Symposium in Colorado every year talking to private space companies. And he has to sign non-disclosure. He can't talk about exactly what's talked about in those meetings. But he tells you everything, that he legally can. And he says they're staffed by U.S. naval officers, some of these cigar-shaped craft, my friends, deep in space. Size of small cities. He describes them as supermassive objects the size of small cities. And the question is, too, what are they doing in the rings of Saturn? I'm still trying to figure that out, my friends. I'm starting to think maybe, just maybe, that's the first sort of recognition, operational sort of flight program that we can see going on of a mining operation, perhaps in those rings of Saturn. Although I Googled it, and apparently those rings of Saturn is 98.5% or something, just sort of ice and water. But it does admit there are trace and rocky elements in those rings. And you would only theoretically need trace elements if you're going to do a mining operation. Naturally, over billions of years, many meteors have hit these rings. And apparently some of these photos of the cylindrical objects, these cigar-shaped craft, my friends, they're literally, looks like they're creating a ring, an extra ring around Saturn. I'm not sure, my friends. I'm going to do more research into that. But here's the photo. You can see for yourselves, my friends. Like I tell my friends and family, my friends, you can see a lot of this for yourself. Just open your eyes. Get off lamestream gullible corporate media. Do some research, my friends. Go to YouTube channels if you want, because you can see the structures and the anomalies all over the moon and Mars. And not to mention looking at our beautiful universe, my friends, all over the place, okay? But if you want to understand and see some of the activities that the covert military civilizations are doing, my friends, and the Nazis and Americans are at the forefront. I truly believe that. But this is trans-international in terms of they're living through, some of these covert military civilizations, my friends, in America, Russia and China as well. They are literally living through an anti-gravity space travel revolution. And again, utilizing trillions and trillions of dollars, and now interest of these trillions and trillions of dollars, because it costs a lot of money to fly these things around, my friends. And you can imagine it costs a lot of money to do what they're doing off-world. But again, we should have a policy discussion, my friends. If you're going to build bases on Mars, not to mention the moon, then it should be talked about. And I don't think a lot of Americans, particularly Americans, let alone us Canadians here, I don't think we're going to be too pleased when we find out about all this covert production and all the trillions of dollars you've stolen and not had this policy discussion. You know, it should be up to us to decide if you should be allowed to build bases on Mars when healthcare is not even being looked after, like I said, properly, right? And what about our bridges and infrastructure right here on our precious planet? There's so much we can do to beautify our planet, my friends. And that's why I always say, my friends, it's so important to get transparency, to get honesty, to talk intelligently about this, my friends, and fight the good fight on this so we can get our hands, our divine right for this free energy. We shouldn't have to wait 100 years like that Super Bowl ad, my friends. 100 years? Are you kidding me? This should have happened. They've been hiding, obfuscating us from the truth on anti-gravity for 60 plus years. This is why I get exasperated, my friends. 60 plus years. And researchers know this. They have lied to us, okay? And, you know, even Bill Scott, I mentioned him in my last video. I think it's Bill Scott is his name, my friends. He was the former editor of the Rocky Mountain Aviation Technology magazine. And Michael Schrapp tells you this too, that when you see, in the supermarket, you see these crazy stories about UFO sightings and the military spin it for ET and all these disinformation stories. It's often a real UFO sighting the day before from a witness, my friends, and they just spin it, right? They try to spin it so that we don't know that it's one of our programs. It's our man-made UFOs, military UFOs, my friends. And again, it's just unreal. So thank you for listening, my friends. I hope I didn't go on too much of a tangent there, but it's so important to get this talked about, my friends. And I love talking to you guys about it. And I really appreciate all the other hardcore researchers. There's not a lot of us, I don't think, in this field. And hopefully we'll get more people researching the truth on the missing Trllions and the UFO technology and everything that's going on with the real secret space program, the clandestine activities, my friends. Okay? Take care, my friends. And we can, because again, the more we talk about and break down the walls of some of this elite secrecy, then the more, my friends, eventually we can beautify this planet and utilize this whole different energy paradigm. Because it's a totally revolutionary non-Plutonian physics. It certainly isn't using rockets. Don't even get me started on rockets, my friends. That's 1943 Nazi technology. It's dinosaur obsolete technology. But if you look on corporate mainstream media, they're still using rockets, right? We'll talk about it because that's a shame. That's pathetic. Thanks for listening, my friends. Take care. Live the healthy lifestyle. More great videos to come. Take care. Bye-bye. See ya.